Hello, everyone. I'm Joanne Binford, and welcome back to another episode of Binford Chronicles. So Trump's been in office for 119 days, and China's 90-day tariff agreement is closing in. That's right. And there's so much going on. The tariffs with China are on everybody's minds, along with inflation, illegal immigration, the one big, beautiful bill, manufacturing in America again. Can we do that? Healthcare, Medicare, the cost of living, the list goes on. But is America moving forward with America First policies? I believe so. Do illegal immigrants in this country have the same rights as American citizens? That has been in question through our courts. And what about Pam Bondi? The American people want to see arrests. We want to see the lawfare ended and the people responsible for it arrested. And of course, Trump received a prince welcome during his visit to Saudi Arabia. He's the first president to visit Qatar and receive a $400 million plane. How do we feel about that? I know that's been on the table as well. So one thing I'm sure of is Trump fosters America First policies, and our people need justice for all. We saw the corruption of our election in 2020. People were incarcerated without due process, like the J6 political prisoners. Habeas corpus just didn't exist. It's incredible what's been going on. And let's not forget about Tina Peters, another political prisoner incarcerated on state charges, a Gold Star mom, a Massa County clerk from Colorado incarcerated for simply raising questions on election integrity and those in power. We have a problem, folks, and Trump is working on it. You know, Tina identified thousands of deleted election system files, but instead of being honored for her integrity, she's facing 9 years in prison. It's a travesty, and we need to stand up with Trump. So today, my special guest is Joe Hoft from the JoeHoftShow.com and contributor on the Gateway Pundit. Joe did a complete analysis of the 2020 election and wrote about it. He authored 3 volumes of the book called The Steal. This collection lays out the details regarding the election fraud in 2020. He's packed a lot of information into this collection that can be purchased on Amazon.com. So we have a great show for you today. So stick around for this exclusive interview with Joe Hoft. And we're going to take a break for the commercial in just a second, and we'll be back.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our Shared Vision Network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together.
Oh, hi, Joe Hoft. How are you? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Binford Chronicles. Joining me today is Joe Hoft from the JoeHoftShow.com and author of The Steal. What's going on, Joe?
Well, not much there. I was just jotting something down, and then all of a sudden I saw myself there. I better pay attention here.
I know. My producer's not with me today, so my finger kind of clicked a little too soon.
That's fine. No, it's great. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So it's been a good year for Trump so far, a lot going on. I wanted to ask you, you've traveled the world and you have a really impressive background. And I thought you would be the perfect person to try to tell us a little bit about these tariffs. And are they good? Are they bad? Are they worth the fight?
Yeah. They're everything. They're everything. They're absolutely necessary, and they're fantastic. It's so smart in so many ways. So that's my belief anyways. And I suppose some people might argue that. But so there's a lot of propaganda against them, but to me, that's just, it's just more noise. That's what we get, a lot of noise anymore. It's like with the Russia collusion noise. So I was, like you mentioned, I was over in Hong Kong for 10 years, 9 years, nearly a decade, and was in and out of China a number of times.
Mhm.
Hong Kong is it's situated right next to China. It was independent at that time. Now China's pretty much taken it over. But what I could see during the Trump years was how the economy was slowing down. Before Trump, lots of money flowing into Hong Kong and through Hong Kong.
Right.
Chinese wanted to get their currency out of China, so they bring suitcases. It was famous for people carrying suitcases full of Chinese cash out of China into Hong Kong and buying property in Hong Kong because they knew then they could launder that money outside of China. But it's just hard to get money outside of China.
Mhm.
And I saw Steve Bannon give a talk years ago, and he said, "Well, there's three types of war. There's kinetic, guns and stuff. There's economic, and there's informational." And he was saying that China's really good at all three, really, and they're really good with the information war. Think about it in the U.S. You don't hear a lot of negative press about China anymore, do you?
Mhm.
They really do a great job managing the information here, however they do it. And they certainly seem to own the Biden administration as well. But so anyways, getting back to tariffs, what I could see those Trump years is Trump put tariffs on China. And China, as you recall, pushed back and reneged on the deal at the last minute. Trump didn't like that. Trump's a deal maker. And so he
Mhm.
said, okay, now the tariffs are going up. Now Trump knows as a deal maker, he's got all the cards. He's got them all. China needs the U.S. They depend on the U.S. Their economy is built on the U.S. as well as so many other countries around the world, if not all of them.
Now, is that because we purchase so much from China?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the U.S. is like 40% of the world's consumer or something like that. Huge, almost half. So if you don't have a business in the U.S., you're not going to really make a lot of money. So everybody's fighting for the U.S. And here's my position, Joanne, is that for years it's our politicians that screwed us over and hurt us and our companies. I got a great example. When I was in Hong Kong, before Trump, we were paying 35% taxes. All U.S. corporations had to pay a 35% tax rate. Well, okay,
Wow.
government,
what time frame was that?
Well, I was up through 2017 or whatever when Trump got it changed.
Oh, wow, that's pretty recent.
It was terrible, and it was terrible because we're competing against companies from like Europe in the industry I was in. The two biggest companies that were our competitors were both out of Europe, in Switzerland and Germany, and they had tax rates around 20%. So for every deal that we wrote overseas, we had to come up with a 15%, some way to make up that 15% gap, or we're going to be priced out of the deals. And we still did well just because we were really smart. But the Europeans loved it that we had that 35% tax rate because they could come in just a little bit lower, get the business, and still make a ton of money. But our politicians put us in this situation where we're fighting, a worldwide battle, and we've got one arm tied behind our back. Trump comes in, lowers taxes down to the low 20%. People that screamed the most were the Europeans. And the negative press on that was really founded by companies overseas, probably paying off our media to push the message that, oh, this is terrible what Trump's doing. No, it wasn't terrible. It was a good thing. Our business boomed as a result. U.S. companies, a lot of companies, then also he made it so that we could move our money back to the U.S. I was just talking to some people, all these beautiful cities we just saw this past week, and in the Middle East or in China, what I saw, Shanghai, Beijing, Singapore, a lot of this money is all coming from the U.S. and has been for a long time. Now Trump wants that money back.
So if we like, because I was listening to Rand Paul, because Rand Paul was trying to explain the tariffs. Have you heard what Rand Paul said in
No,
regards to the tariffs?
I'd be
Um,
interested.
he talks about the tariffs like he says, well, because Walmart was talking about increasing prices, and he says, well, the U.S. doesn't trade with China. The U.S. trades with Walmart, and the U.S. trades with the companies in the U.S. That's who we trade with. The American people trade with. So I was trying to get more of a, that's why I was asking about the tariffs, because I'm really not an academic scholar on these tariffs, and a lot of people are arguing and they're freaking out over the tariffs. And then you've got Rand Paul saying, no, we shouldn't bother with the tariffs. That's not the fight we should be fighting.
No, I disagree with Rand Paul on that.
And does that bleed into manufacturing in America?
It certainly does. This is the whole scheme that Trump's trying to do. We set up tariffs. We encourage foreign companies to build in the U.S., just like what our politicians did in the past, but the opposite, where they forced us into building overseas because they got cheaper labor over there. Now he's going to say, we're going to make it price competitive for you to build here in the U.S. So the goal is to build a manufacturing base back here. We can't be in a situation like I just read the other day about the UK. They don't have any more steel mills in all the UK. Now, if you go to war and you don't have a steel mill, you're in a strategic disadvantage. Same, and China bought the last 5 and then shut them all down. So we don't want to be in that position. We saw pieces of that during COVID where we couldn't get certain things because China had them and they were made in China, maybe masks, even stupid things. And we don't want to go through that, and we don't have to go through that. We've got great workers here. We've got great people here. By putting the tariffs in place, there's a couple advantages. One is, and I love this about what Trump's thinking, his goal, he's mentioned this a number of times, is to eliminate taxes for Americans. Let's let foreigners pay this money through tariffs, and anybody up to $200,000 in income is going to be relieved of any tax burden. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let the American people stop taking from the American people and giving it really overseas. Instead, do the opposite. Get this money through tariffs and bringing it back here. The other thing what tariffs does is then it causes the rationale for companies to come to the U.S. and build. Already we've seen Mercedes, Volkswagen, billions. You saw Trump went overseas. Trillions of dollars has already flowed into this country just in the last 3 or 4 months. Now that's going to lead, that investment, it's going to lead to massive number of jobs, and the better, skilled workers are going to be making more and more money, and it's going to help everybody. It's going to lift everybody. It's so smart.
So Joe, what I was questioning is because I'm not great on dates, on history dates, but I know that we did do better. We were working off of tariffs, but we also had the gold standard in place when we officially, am I correct?
Years ago. Yeah, I guess there probably was a gold standard. You're talking like the late 1800s. And tariffs at that point. Trump looks back at that period and says, hey, man, that we had so much money we didn't know what to do with it. There's tariffs on goods coming in, and we made enough money on tariffs. There was no income tax,
Yeah, so is that where we're trying to head back to?
I think that's what he's trying to say. Yeah, why are we doing this? To me, it's always our politicians. They have turned against us in so many ways. We see it when they shut down oil, exploration and drilling across the country. We've got more oil here in the U.S. and Alaska than any other country in the world, and yet we can't drill here. Under Trump's first term, we became an energy independent company. We didn't have to import anything. Under Biden, he changed that, shut all that down. I'd rather be paying people in North Dakota than paying people over in the Middle East for oil. I mean, we've got it. Why would we even think about buying it overseas?
Yeah, Trump has said we have a lot of resources here in America.
We've got them. And I think it's the politicians that screwed us over. I think as I see it over and over. So like I mentioned in our example with taxes, we were paying 35%. We had a hard time getting business overseas. And some of these, we need to tax people more. No, we don't. Or given corporate, no, we need to make it fair for U.S. corporations. We were still doing business, but we had a hard time when when you've got one arm tied behind your back. That's what Trump did, is he untied that arm and made it more competitive for American firms. What he did to China, though, was even more important. And I even wrote about it at the time at the Gateway Pundit in about 2019, saying, and then 2020, if COVID dropped by China intentionally, it was because Trump was crushing them economically. When these tariffs went into place, they at first, what they did, the Chinese did, is they lowered the cost of their currency to offset these additional tariffs in China. And what that, so that the prices would still be low in the U.S., they just lowered their currency. What they did, though, by doing that, is anybody that had U.S. dollar borrowings, those amounts went up. China, they found themselves in a really terrible spot. At the same time, China's biggest part of their economy for years, for a couple of decades, and they were the fastest growing economy in the world. They were huge. Millions, half a billion people were moved out of abstract poverty into at least better than that categories after about 1980, when Duping decided to allow people to keep property and allow some people to make more money than others. And that country became really, really prosperous in a short period of time, because companies would go over there and build over there with the low fees in payroll. It was no brainer. And but what happened at the same time over there in China is they were building so much. They've got these huge buildings all over the place, and they overbuilt, kind of like we did in 2007 and 8 or whatever. And a lot of people that had mortgages that shouldn't have had them because they couldn't pay them. In China, they basically had the same thing. And so what happens to this day is they started showing or not showing, I should say, these liabilities in the bank accounts in the banks. They say so they got trillions of dollars, trillions sitting over here that they don't report in liabilities and debt because nobody's paying off these loans in these big buildings. They own they've issued the loans to the property manager or whatever, and they can't pay off the loan. And so they've got trillions. Debt.
Yeah, they're not much different than we are. We're in debt as well.
Well, they are worse than we are. They're worse than we are. People don't know.
I know we're like $36 trillion in debt.
Well, yeah, dollar-wise, but percentage of GDP, we're much, much better than in some of these countries like Japan and China. And that only exploded over the last 4 years. I mean, Trump added money to the budget, about $3 trillion. So we got up to like $7 trillion due to COVID, but we thought that was a one-off. Biden kept it at $7 trillion every year. He never lowered it. So now we got a $7 trillion budget, and we're bringing in whatever 4 or 5 trillion. So it's crazy what's going on, and we've got to fix that. And through tariffs, tariffs is one way we can do that. That's what Trump's doing. We're going to tariffs will help. Tariffs will help. We're hoping that he wants to lower taxes for the average American. That'll increase spending, which will help. The stronger economy will bring more revenues to the country as well. And a couple other initiatives he has the tariffs will bring in money. Lowering the taxes will be one way. There's another way that was pretty significant as well. Way to try to get cutting government spending through Doge.
Yeah, through Doge. And Doge wasn't in that bill, the big beautiful bill. And I don't understand why it wasn't in there, because
I don't know either. It's a good question.
It's cutting back taxes. And then I did like Rand Paul made a statement where he wanted to set it up so that in the bill, every 3 months you had to go back and ask, or every 3 years you had to go back and ask for money rather than not. He wanted to put an amendment in there that said that they have to audit them like every 3 years, and it didn't get in there. So I kind of was happy about that. That made sense to me, though, especially with what we're finding out with Doge. It's like you need to have a consistent short window of time and then audit them, because there's trillions of dollars that they're being corrupt with.
Oh, it's beyond belief. I was talking to somebody the other day. They said these guys from Doge, they're just are shocked with the amount of fraud and corruption in our government. $7 trillion. I used to oversee $1 billion block of business in the corporate world, the financial reporting. I didn't know all that was going on there. I didn't, and they expected me to. But man, there's small transactions. There's no clue, happening overseas. And I look back and it's like, I had a good handle on the numbers, but nobody can. Start talking $1 trillion, nobody's going to be able to.
But with your background, you have a great idea on how money can be laundered through transaction after transaction, transferring from account to account to account. I mean, it's got to be just mind-boggling. There's no way. You really have to be a numbers person to be able to catch that type of information.
Wow. Yeah,
and
there's all this money flowing over to the Ukraine. And remember, FTX went under the cryptocurrency, and we found out later that they were meeting with the Biden White House every week. They had a weekly call. FTX did, and what I think that was is we were sending money over there. They were shoving it into crypto, and then through transactions in crypto, maybe exchanging it to different cryptocurrencies, and they eventually bring it back to the U.S. and transferring it into U.S. dollars. That's what I think they were doing. We just found out today something like Ukraine is the 4th largest country in investments in Bitcoin, something like $40 billion Ukraine owns in Bitcoin now. I mean,
wow,
that's U.S. money that went over there for a war that whoever owns it shoved it into Bitcoin, and it's they made a lot of money. They're making money on it,
Yeah, we never invested in Bitcoin. We don't like the digital currency at all.
Yeah.
It's where is it? It feels like a fictitious account. It's like somebody's programming it if it's digital.
Yeah, there's
where is it?
I'm not an expert on it, but I think there's some value in it. This one XRP had some value, and Biden went after him. I think the thing that we saw under Biden was an attack against cryptocurrency from Biden. But the problem is it's here and it's going to stay. And it's, I guess 100 years ago, or maybe 200, whatever it was, 200 years ago, there was no national currency. It was every bank issued its own currency. And so it's not too unique from that period of time. So these crypto, they're worth a certain amount based on the markets, and just like anything else. So I think there's some value, there's some purpose. Some of these have special purposes, and I think that makes sense. This XRP was I thought it was a good idea. It was going to be currency to be used between banks through this, replacing the SWIFT bank exchange market. And I see Trump's move to that. He issued a couple of executive orders really pushing forward with that. And I think it makes sense. And so that's a cryptocurrency that has a specific use. Biden's team went after XRP and its parent company, Ripple, tried to basically destroy them, sued them, cost millions of dollars. And I just think Biden's team was for China. Everything they did was to help China. So then China,
I think so too.
They could come in and buy up all the Bitcoin, and they could buy up all these other cryptos, and then they could own that market. I think Trump sees there's value in this, and let's not let China take it. Let's us be the the experts in these cryptocurrencies. Same thing with AI. There's a lot of people saying AI is it's really scary. There's doom and gloom, but it's got a lot of great purposes as well.
It does. It has a lot of good benefits.
Why would we give that to China? So this is what's going on, and we don't see it because of our media being so corrupt. But yet there's a battle here between the U.S. and China. I think that's why Trump went over to the Middle East, and his effort was to build this bridge with these Middle Eastern countries, and in essence push China out. And that a strategic move. Some people didn't see coming, but the maybe the biggest battle we have right now is China. And I think China came in, like I said, I think they were running the Biden administration. There wasn't a thing Biden did that didn't help China. So
that meeting in Saudi Arabia and where he got that the plane, the gift, that was really not gifted to the president, was it? It was gifted more to the military.
Right. He's not going to keep it. People making a big thing about that. I mean, really, if that's all they have, I got to tell you, Joanne, I don't know if you see it, but everything they say now is a lie. Everything. It used to be 80%, maybe 70%. Now it's just like everything.
It is. It's really hard to decipher what the truth is. I mean, I'm kind of glad that he went to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, because I didn't realize the beautiful buildings they had there. I have not traveled the world like you. And I was telling my husband today, I said, man, that city's beautiful there. In my head, it was just sand.
Yeah, right. Same thing. That's what I thought too. Same with like China. I'd think a bunch of rickshaws or something. People.
Yeah, and I saw it and I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And then I forget what I was watching. It was somebody was showing us the artwork in the museums over there, the Islamic art, and it was a show that came on because of his trip there, and it was on BBC. I was watching BBC News, and they took us to Qatar and they took us to Saudi Arabia. And I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. I was totally blown away. I was like, it is absolutely beautiful. They have beautiful art. It was not a sandy, windstorm sand place that I had it in my imagination. It just goes to show that traveling around the world is so important,
it's I mean, a lot of, like I said earlier, just a lot of US dollars went overseas and built that. Or that was all oil money that we bought over there.
Wow.
Yeah. Why not pay farmers in North Dakota or in Texas or in Alaska? Why would we give this money overseas? It's insane. And
look at what they did. Wow.
And Biden's trying to shut that stuff down. Trump's opening it up, and our economy was booming, and our gas prices are low, and the inflation under Biden is just absolutely tragic. What he did? It was 10%. You buy some things. I was just talking to some friends here at dinner, and we're saying, go down to a local ice cream shop now, and it's $10 for a cone. It's like it didn't used to be, but 2 or 3, it seemed like just a few years ago. So we've got to stop the inflation. The inflation is because of the government spending. And so we got to stop the government spending. We've got to cut that.
It seems so hard to stop the government spending because when they put these bills together, they're still thousands of pages long. They have things in them that don't really need to be in there. Just like the big, beautiful bill. I mean, they could have put Doge in there and they don't. And it's, like you said, it's our representatives are corrupt. They're not working for the people. But how do we change that? How can you change it when society is sold on the wrong news? Society doesn't have all the information, and nobody really. I think Americans are so complacent sometimes. We have a good life here. We come home, we eat, we go to the beach. And we don't think about even our local politics or what's happening, locally, and then how it affects our government. I've met people that don't ever vote in the primaries, or they don't ever vote for anything except the president because they think the president is the most important thing to vote for. So it's like, I wonder, how are we going to change it? Because we're fighting good and evil, and it seems like the nation is split 50-50.
I think that's an excellent question. How do we stop this? Well, first of all, one way is, at least in these blue states, and actually here in these red states like Florida, and it's a red state. I think all these states are red anymore. I really believe that. I don't know if there is such thing as a blue state
Yeah,
anymore.
because you've done the election research.
We did this. Here's a study I just did recently. It's in California. Don't know if you saw this. It was in Orange County. Orange County is like the 6th largest county in America. So it's got, I don't know how many million people. They have 1.8 million people on their voter rolls. Just one county. It's just south of LA, big county.
Wow, 1.8.
And it's conservative. It's conservative. And they have 5. They actually had 6 U.S. House races that were contested in that county. U.S. 6, just in one county. It's all conservative. And 5 of the 6 seats went to the Democrats.
How?
And it's just, it's through massive fraud is what I believe. So what happened was I received
the election machines.
Well, it's everything. It's really everything. I think when people say machines or voter rolls or chain of custody or whatever it is, it's broke. And that was kind of the thesis in my book. Everything I looked at was broke, and there's no way that a corporate auditor in a position like I had in the past would ever have certified any of this. So people get in arguments. So it's the machines. No, it's the voter rolls. Well, it's both. It's both, and everything's broke. And in California, what I found was about 6 months before the election, somebody sent me a study. They said almost 20% of the people on the voter rolls in California are non-citizens. And they have this great...
that makes sense.
And because everybody that comes in and gets a driver's license, they automatically shove them into the voter roll. But the state says, oh, no, we don't. We only send those that, basically are non-citizens. But they don't tell you, or that are citizens. They don't tell you that there's a box to check that if you're not a citizen. Well, the non-citizens don't check that box because they don't want you to know that they're a non-citizen. They're afraid you're going to come get them. So they leave it blank. Well, the policy in California is if that box is blank, we're going to assume that they are U.S. citizens. So they shove all these names into the voter rolls. There was an estimate of nearly 4 million names in the voter rolls in California, which was about 17% of all the names in the current voter rolls for this election that weren't citizens. So I started looking into Orange County. It's a mess. I could tell you stories. We could tell you 2 hours worth of stories.
Corrupt, because you could do it the other way around and get it fixed. If you leave the box empty, you can't vote.
Right. Well, there you go. Right.
People would come right away and fix it.
Sure. It's outrageous. And so, so we looked at Orange County, and I worked with United Sovereign Americans, and we did a study on Orange County. I already knew that I just knew it had to be probably 20%. And some of these races, these House races, one was won by like 500 votes, three weeks after the election. They finally give it to
really a tight margin, 500 votes.
Well, and then when you figure out this, we estimated like 300,000 of the votes aren't even legit. These are the votes, not just voter rolls, votes, because we could tie the people who voted with the voter roll, slammed them together, looked at all the people that voted, looked to see if they're citizens. We found evidence that 21% of the people that voted in the 2024 election aren't even, they're not legitimate. They're either not legitimate non-citizens or phantom voters, people we don't even know where they came from. And so that's California, that's Orange County, and we bring it up, and the GOP's not there. They're not saying anything. They stood up for this guy running the county up until, they still do, I guess. And we've been saying this election was not, we have evidence we can provide in a court of law, and it's just getting covered up, and the GOP doesn't do anything. And of course, Trump, that's a 10-vote swing in the U.S. House. You take away 5 Democrat seats and add 5 to the Republicans. That's 10 votes. It wouldn't be so hard to pass some of these bills with 10 more votes, and everybody's quiet, and they won't share this. It's silence, crickets from the mainstream media and even other conservative media outlets on this. And it's a really, really big deal. So we've got, so that was just looking at voter rolls, but it's because they got drop boxes. They got ballot harvesting where you or I could go drop 100 ballots in there, say, oh yeah, they're all legit. I got them from people down the road or whatever. Nobody asks you, you just shove them in there, and then they count them, and they do have the machines, and they do have, no chain of custody.
I saw that movie 2000 Mules, where it actually showed people walking up to the ballot boxes and just dropping tons and tons of ballots in the boxes. But for federal elections, we should be able to have a constitutional amendment for those federal elections and how they should be run in every single state, because it's a federal election. Because I know we're a federalist nation, so states, if you're voting for state positions, then you can't really federally tell them how to do that election. But when it comes to presidential election and the vice president, that is a federal election.
You're right.
Nice to see some kind of amendment that says, hey, if you're not following these guidelines, your state is not included.
Well, and there is, there actually is amendments in the Constitution just saying about free and fair elections, and we don't have it in California. So when you can't vote in the senator of your choice, like Steve Garvey, the former Hall of Fame baseball player, for the GOP, instead you vote in Adam Schiff, who nobody votes for. Nobody likes the guy. And somehow he wins the Senate race there. Nah, you don't have a state anymore. And if you don't, if you cannot win elections, that's the definition of communism, And so that's where we are in some of these states. They're communist states now. They own and they want to bleed this to the entire country. And we've got a chance now this next year or so to stop this, but lots of work to do.
What kind of work do we need to do? Because, the 2028 elections are so around the corner. And then we have our governor elections in 2026. So there's another race that's going to be manipulated.
Right. Well, in the House,
what are we going to do?
U.S. House and Senate in 26. So they both could flip, and I'm sure the Dems they're working on it. They're working on a way to steal it. That's all they do now. These people are the most corrupt people you've ever met in your life. They're so disgusting. And they'll call you a liar when you're telling the truth. They'll try to shut you down. They'll try to bankrupt you. They will do anything they can to shut you up. The more effective you are, the more they're going to come after you. And it's outrageous.
Do you think this last election for Trump was because a lot of us conservatives never really vote early? We usually vote on election day, and so many people went out and voted early. And then you also had the other people that voted on regular day, but there was a lot more turnout on early voting during the election. Plus, a lot of people did switch over because the Biden presidency was just such a hot mess. But now we've got AOC and Crockett. They're propping those ladies up for running.
Well, it doesn't matter what we saw with Joe Biden. It doesn't matter who you throw in the White House. They're not going to run it. Somebody else is running it. It's like Trump came out today with the truth on that, saying who the auto pin. Who was running that auto pin? Because that's who was running the country. It wasn't Joe Biden. And you could have AOC sit up there. That girl, she doesn't know anything, but that's exactly what they want. So Kamala Harris, same thing. She's not a bright person at all. And so that's what they want. And I don't know who's running them. I don't know who they is. Is it China? Is it the World Economic Forum?
The Turks,
Illuminati, whoever. It's not Americans. And so they want to steal this next one. They've got pretty much everything still in place. I think the reason Trump won is because it was just the numbers were just 80-20, something like that, probably across the country.
It was just so bad. The Biden presidency was just so bad.
Oh, he was so bad and so inept, and
the corruption, arresting Trump, and all that stuff. It really woke people up.
Yeah, they tried to sell us on these polls at the end. That Kamala's ahead. It's like, give me a break. I think they even finally realized, well, we can't steal it from Trump, but let's go after the Senate and the House races. And that's what they did. And the GOP sat back and let them. So the GOP's not on our side either. They're just not.
I was just going to ask you about that because it was the GOP that wanted to keep Trump off the ballot in Florida.
Wow.
Remember
Yeah.
that?
Well, I don't, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, think all these guys that jumped on DeSantis's train for a while is, same old people, but yeah, we gotta figure something out here for 2026. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work.
Well, I'm hoping that Byron Donalds, I'm going to be his supporter. I'd like to see him
Yeah,
governor. He's been a solid constitutionalist fighting for the people.
mm,
Um, I
yeah,
don't, I don't know where Matt Getz is going to be. I don't know. He seems
yeah.
to
I
have
don't know.
fallen off the face of the earth.
I know he's out there
Like,
with OAN right now.
yeah, it's like
So
what's is that all he's going to do? Because he's really a skilled person as
I
well.
agree. He's a real bright guy, and boy, he wasn't afraid to, call these guys out in those.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. He had no problem, and he knew. I think that's the biggest thing that we can have is just knowledge and truth. If you're so much better armed when you walk up to somebody. If you don't know that this person's a crook and you walk up to them, you are vulnerable. If you know they're a crook, you can treat them as a crook. And that's what we have to do is continue our knowledge and understanding of other people, policies, and stuff. I
So
think
what do you
Trump's done an excellent job, quite
I think
frankly.
he's done a really good job. I don't think anybody in his shoes that I don't know anybody that could go through what he went through and
Oh
then
my
and
God.
just he's even keel,
Oh,
he
think
handles
of
the stress. He's a
oh,
chess player. I mean, I'd love to see what his mind looks like when everything's firing, when all
yeah,
it's probably lit up like
yeah.
the
I'm
4th
telling
of
you,
July in there 24/7.
he's a bright guy, no doubt
He's
about it.
very, very
So skilled,
intelligent
so
man.
smart, great manipulator of information. He knows exactly when to just smash somebody like we've never seen before.
And he
Take
reads people really well.
Oh, that's what I've heard was one of his best skill sets.
He has to be to be able to go to all these foreign nations and negotiate with these people. And he knows how to talk to them. He knows how to respect their views and still negotiate what he needs. And that's what our nation needs. We need a leader like that because, like he
Oh,
says, peace through strength.
he's so
And
smart.
it
Well,
just
and
blows
he's
me
also
away.
we're seeing how he's pushing China into a box. So China came in under Biden and basically tried to take over the world. And they pretty much did the US. That's why
Mhm.
the Saudis and everybody left the US, decided to join the BRICS. It's because Biden was so damn weak. They said, my God, he's not even running the show. Who is? And it looked like China was. And I actually talked to a real bright guy a couple of years ago, and he says, well, the US has been taken over, and now they're just fighting over who gets what. And that was a couple of years ago. And I'm like, man, that kind of shocked me. I look back at it. He was right. It
Yeah.
was taken over. Biden had given it up. And you look at states like California. There's no law there. There's no elections there. There's no way you can vote out Adam Schiff or Kamala Harris or Newsom. These monsters, if not Satanists, close. And so that's those states are captive now. I don't know who's running them. You saw how Newsom treated the head of China, Xi, when he came
Mm.
over, treated him like a
Oh
king.
yeah, he cleaned up the streets. That it was
Yeah,
at that moment where I said China owns us under
yeah.
Biden
Well, you're right.
because that
He
was I
showed
was
it.
like, look at them parading through the
Yeah,
streets.
yeah.
The
It
CCP
was
is
disgusting.
parading through
It
our
was
streets.
disgusting.
It
It was
was
disgusting.
terrible.
It was.
I was
And
like, we
the
are
way
in
Trump,
trouble.
Trump was actually treated better in the Middle East. But I mean, what was that? That was Newsom showing, who he thinks is in charge. And it's the Chinese. He's not a good guy. So it makes you wonder if China's running this whole show. We know that they had like 300,000 people that came across the border. They're military age under
Mhm.
Biden, at least
Well, the
300. We don't
China
know where they are.
balloons, the China
The
balloons that
balloons.
went over.
Biden let them. They got gained God knows how much information with those balloons. Jeez, it just goes
Then
on.
we had the mysterious drones. Do you really think those mysterious drones had nothing to do with China?
Well, it's a good question. Somebody told me the other day, oh, we found out it was good spies versus bad spies. And it's like, I'm like, I don't know what it was. It shouldn't have happened. It never should have
Yeah,
happened. Should have been
it
shot
just
down right away.
It didn't make any
Something's
sense.
going on. Something's going on.
And it
So
wasn't too far after the balloons, we
yeah,
had the balloon trauma of this balloon flying over the United States, and then we had all these drones just showing up.
yeah, yeah. So Trump won, which is a miracle and it's a blessing. But we still got a lot of work to do. We got to get these elections fixed, and we cannot allow districts like Orange County that are so big, sixth largest in America, go rogue and give 5 out of their 6 seats to Democrats in a conservative county. It just doesn't happen. So we've got to, we got to demand that these, all these elections get totally fixed. I'm sure Trump's on top of it. I believe he is. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about the Bongino and Kash Patel discussion this morning with Maria Bartiromo? Did you see any of that?
I didn't see any of that. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, kind of off track, but it's like, so this is what, this is the big thing that we want. We wanted, just like we did in 2016. If you look back at 2016, there was like 5 chants at Trump rallies. It was USA, USA. It was lock her up with Hillary, for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
It was drain the swamp. It was there's a couple more that we could say, and but 2 of them were about clean up our justice system, Hillary and the swamp. And that's how much we wanted it back then. Those slogans said a lot.
They did.
They said so much. And that's what we want right now is some real justice. I heard Bongino and Kash this morning were on with Maria Bartiromo. And one thing they said is, oh, no, they said Epstein was a suicide. They both looked at the data. They said it's a suicide. I don't believe it.
It's going to be hard to change a lot of people's minds on that one.
I don't. Yeah.
And Pam Bondi's been getting a lot of shit because people want to see some arrests, and they're not they're not getting their satisfaction is what it is.
Well, that's it. And here's what they indicated today, and I thought about writing about this at joehoft.com and I caught it. They said, well, the statute of limitations has expired for the crimes that these people committed back with the coup d'etat with Trump. Well, I believe that's accurate if you just look at these crimes as independent crimes, lying to the courts or whatever, you stealing, spying, doing whatever it is, maybe. But when it was a concerted effort by a group of people that worked together to overthrow the government, well, then that's treason, and there's no statute of limitations on treason, and there's no statute of limitations on murder. The 2 crimes that no statute of limitations. So I'm hoping that they're not indicating we're not going to charge anybody with stuff. That would be an injustice. They need to bring all these people in, get them, shove them in jail, just like they did with the Jan 6ers, and then bring them into court and under a RICO case where they all work together. We know they all work together.
They conspired together
to overthrow the Trump administration. So I that was a bit concerning to me, the Epstein thing. And then it was like, oh man, come on, guys. Bongino, I know Bongino. I've talked to Kash, but I haven't met him. I really liked these 2 guys, but I don't know, man.
Listen to them, and we've all heard their energy, and we're all like, yeah, we got them in there. Now we're going to see something happen, and why doesn't it happen? Because if it was the Democrats, something would have been happening.
Oh, already. They'd arrested already. How many people from January 6th? Grandmas that were walking through with did nothing wrong. It's crazy.
And they would be spewing it on the news everywhere. I don't hear that much talk about it on Newsmax.
No.
and
Oh
Newsmax
yeah.
2 because I have Newsmax 2 on the free TV stuff. But it's like,
Well,
where's all the information, all the
well, why?
trash
And
talk?
Cash is sending all this stuff over to the Congress. Why is he doing that? Why doesn't he just release it? They doesn't need to
Yeah,
send it to him. He doesn't
yeah.
need to. He's the FBI. I mean, what's going on? Can't he give it to the DOJ? Can't we press some charges? You can send it to Congress. Like, we trust this Congress.
Yeah.
When you got 8 Democrats and 8 Republicans making a decision on something, you trust a damn thing that's going to come out of that? Because at least one Republican's going to be a rhino or worse.
Oh, there's
So
several in there.
there, nothing's going to get done. They'll even cover up most of the evidence. So I think Dan and Cash, they've got some work to do. There's other people, we heard this back in 2018, 19 with Bill Barr. Oh yeah, Barr's going to get him. No, that was a lie. He was not going to get him. He was going to stall until statute of limitations was over. And nobody
My
was going to
husband didn't think Barr should have been working there. My husband was like, "Why did you pick Barr?"
Yeah. Well, he was so surrounded by swamp then.
Yeah.
He stepped into a lion's den. Nobody had, and actually I'm hearing it's even worse than worse than we knew. And the same with like the Doge. I talked to somebody the other night. The Doge people were like, I think most of these guys are like, I want to get out of here. It's just too scary. What they're finding. It's just so bad. So they just want to keep their lives, some of these guys. Well, I got into this, didn't have a clue how bad it would be. So there's this kind of work should be done in every department on a daily basis anyways. But apparently it's not. So pretty outrageous.
It's probably like a bad TV show, where you see all the corruption and them trying to hide bodies and threaten people, and there's probably some of that stuff going on back there,
Oh, it's
because
dark.
It's got to be dark. It has to be dark, a dark place. Because look, the J6ers, they were incarcerated. What happened to habeas corpus?
Yeah.
It was non-existent. They were in there forever without a regular trial. They weren't allowed to talk to people, and
they couldn't talk to their attorneys, couldn't look at their cases, didn't get all the evidence that was due to them.
We're put in high security prison. It just was terrible. Look at Tina Peters. My goodness, she's in her 70s for doing something of integrity for our nation, and she's facing 9 years, and she's still fighting for her life every day, and it's against the government. Our taxes are paying for them to put our people away.
Right. It's crazy.
It's a corrupt system, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing, that you've done, and coming on and talking with us about it, because you've had such a good background, your history, your work experience, and you're a scholar. You've got 10 master's degrees, or
10 degrees, designations. I got 6 books. And
yeah, so it's amazing that all the work that you do, and you just have an understanding of this stuff that goes far beyond what people like me. I learn from you every day, and hopefully other people learn from you, and we know what to do with these next elections coming up. We have our supervisor election here in Indian River County, and I like her. I think she does a good job, but how do we make sure Florida is safe? Because we've got a lot of people moving to Florida, and we've got a lot of Democrats in Florida.
Well, we got a lot of corruption. Get rid of the corruption and we win in hands down, 80-20. I really believe it. If we got rid of the Dems are going to fight, tooth and nail for the corruption, because they don't want people to know that they've been stealing these things for years. Nobody's voting for these psychopaths. They're crazy. I mean, Adam Schiff, give me a break. Guys, he's a crook. Weirdo too, just weird. Some of these other ones, geez, in the house. It's one lady with purple hair from Connecticut.
Oh yeah, what is her name? She's very elderly too. I think she's
just crazy.
And it just goes to show you, they get in office and they're there for their entire lives.
Yeah, it's gross. And I think weirder the better, and because it gives us then this belief that it's that we voted him in, which we didn't, and that therefore it's a projection on us. And nobody voted in that crackpot. Nobody votes in those corrupt people. We need a DOJ that's going to start arresting people, putting the real criminals in jail. We need that drastically right now.
You think there should be loads of evidence, you know?
Oh, it's there.
Just
yes.
Why is it not happening?
Yeah.
Everybody's
There's certain people, like John Brennan. I talked to General Flynn the other day. He's like, there's enough on Brennan right now. You could arrest him right now today. Probably Comey, the same thing.
So why
right
isn't
now?
It happening?
There's no reason not to. These people, we need to stop protecting these people. We need to bring some justice. If we don't get it, and I'm not real happy right now. I'm kind of getting scared as time goes by. In the comments I heard today, that's a problem. That's a big problem. They're going to have to. We didn't pay for them to go to DC to turn into little sheep. We want people to go after.
Well, I think we're going to be in real big trouble if we come up to 2027 and still nothing's really happened, because
I agree.
We only have our president for 4 years, and some of these executive orders that he's passed, we need to make sure that they become permanent if they're constitutional, and make them forever, not just for this presidency, because the next presidency is going to be a poop show. They are already lining up people that are just actors, and they're actors working for whoever it is that hates America.
Right.
And we're going to be in big trouble. We're going to have a monarchy.
You're absolutely right. We gotta really get smart, and we got to get a lot of work done. So there's a lot to do. Work bad. Like this one guy that said to me a few years ago that this country's been taken over. They're just fighting over the, who gets what. I saw him recently. He said, well, we won, but now the battle still goes on, and every day. So we just got to keep doing it. The greatest weapon we have, that anybody has, is the truth. And which is, synonymous with God. And as long as we got that, we can. We're going to win this thing. But we got to keep sharing the truth.
We got to spread. Yes, we got to spread the truth, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know the truth, and they are so convinced of the lie that they will not listen to the truth. They will not accept the truth, even when you present it to them with fact. They just reject it entirely. And that's the scary part, because there's a lot of young youth out there that are in that position where they will not even listen. And the whole transgender thing, and you try to have a conversation with them and they don't even know how to describe a woman. It's crazy. You can't move them. It's because the professors know more than any of us.
They're crazy. Yeah, they're crazy too.
But anyway, Joe, I wanted to thank you for coming on. Thank you so much. What your website is? JoeHoft.com.
Yeah. Still contribute at Gateway Pundit, and working on a new podcast here. Should be some news coming out on that here shortly. So
yeah, what's the name of it?
Well, probably the Joe Hoft Show, something original like that. But we'll see.
Well, thank you so much for coming on board. I really appreciate having you on. You're a very good guest, and hopefully everybody has learned a little bit from you today, because we've got elections coming up, and I really hope everybody gets out there and votes in the primaries.
Amen. Do whatever you can this time right now. So important.
All right. Well, you have a good evening, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Care. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us here at Binford Chronicles for another episode. And as 2026 approaches, Binford Chronicles will focus on lining up candidate interviews. We want to give you access to the candidates and hope to encourage our community, that's right, to get out there and vote in local primary elections. So hit the subscribe tab to get notified when Binford Chronicles goes live. And for local news, visit Indian River trumpconnections.com for local podcasts. And we have a local podcast also called The Board Report. It airs every Friday at 7 p.m. So hit the thumbs up, like, share, follow, and subscribe tab. Check us out on Rumble, X, Facebook, and YouTube. And have a good night. Thank you for joining us.